Welcome, everyone. Happy Saturday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Saturday, November 15th, 2025. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? Can I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread? First two cards we are starting our day off with today are the Page of Wands in its upright in combination with our High Priestess in its reversal. It's so interesting because I've been feeling really called to do a breakdown of masculine, feminine, and non-binary energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. And I feel like this is very much akin to what I was effectively reading for right now. Remember how I said before the podcast started that this is effectively like the heaviest point of the retrograde? I keep on describing this. This is like the apex of the retrograde season. It's like the hump. The reason for that is given the fact that we've only have 2 planets right now that are currently not in retrograde, and they're effectively Pluto and Venus. So we have them effectively represented here by Page of Wands energy in its upright and the High Priestess in its reversal. It's funny too, because I kind of mentioned before that it's giving a little bit of Persephone vibes, with Pluto and Venus being the only energies that are not in retrograde. But it is having a different impact on masculine and feminine energy. The thing you have to recognize too, and I need to describe this, we had this like 1-2 punch that occurred after that full moon that we just experienced in Taurus. It was a super moon. It was really intense. But I have to describe that one of the things that we saw with that is it's like we had the moon, a Taurus full moon in Scorpio season. And almost at the same time, right in sweet succession, we had Jupiter move into retrograde in Cancer, and then we had Mercury move into retrograde in Sagittarius. Now, the thing that we have to recognize there is, and the funny part is I keep on saying this, I'm not as stressed about Mercury retrograding in Sagittarius. Because honestly, I got to tell you a little bit right now, Mercury retrograding in Sagittarius can sometimes create a little bit of like look before you leap type of energy, right? It's the difficulty in relationality to throwing caution to the wind, but not necessarily in a negative way. But the thing that we see that's very important that I'm more concerned right now with Jupiter retrograding in Cancer, because Jupiter retrograding in Cancer at the same time that we've got Neptune retrograding in Pisces, it can do a real number on the feelings. It can sometimes feel like, and I keep on getting the crushing weight of emotions that sometimes make us feel like that sometimes feel overwhelming, right? What do we do with big feelings? Now, the answer is we channel them in productive spaces. Is what I keep on hearing. That's what we do with them when we're in a healthy space, right? But it is having a different impact depending on whether you align to masculine or feminine energy. Bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. For masculine, I see that this is a time where there's a lot of inner child wounds coming up to the surface, right? There's a heightened sensitivity. And this is often, and this is something that often masculine needs to work through in the context of their own healing cycle, because there's some kind of disambiguation that has occurred in modern day that has made masculine feel that that having emotions isn't very masculine. Nothing could be further from the truth. We all have emotions. And in fact, and this is like often what happens to masculine energy that doesn't do the work to come into alignment with their emotions, things that we ignore have more power over us, have power over us in ways that we can't see, right? Because our brains are very attenuated machines to our psyches. And I talk about this. One of the things I mention is there's nothing more dangerous than saying to the self that you can do anything when you're upset, when you're hurt. Because when you say to yourself, I can do anything when I'm hurt, I guarantee you'll become the most sensitive person that ever existed. A breeze will make you feel pain because you've just given yourself the directions of how you can get away with anything, right? Simultaneously, when we tell ourselves, right, when we tell ourselves to quash our feelings, right, when we ignore the feelings don't go away. Energy can't be created or destroyed. It's got to go somewhere. So often, the emotions that we don't address affect everything because, as we're working to ignore them, like that is the sign of our blinders being put on, right? It's like when we try to ignore things, everybody else has to contend with them, is what we see. So that is like effectively what's happening right now for a lot of the masculine energy. And masculine, if you're going through this, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, I keep on seeing, I feel like this is masculine energy that's healing by saying having emotions, admitting that one has emotions isn't childish. It is the height of maturity, is what I keep on hearing. It is the height of reconnecting to maturity by being able to address the emotions instead of being affected by them, right? Talking through them instead of reacting to them, but it's not easy. For feminine, I feel like this is more the feminine. This is more the feminine working through the observation of, and I keep on seeing this, that when we are working, like there's something really fundamental about building into the context of appreciation is what I keep on seeing. And I keep on seeing too, and when I got that message that patience is also projection, there was something really, it felt very connected to feminine energy, because this is a bit of a misconception that we sometimes have. There's a misconception that projection is negative, that the reason that the projection is so bad is because it's negative. Often, I keep on getting, often the projections that are most toxic are the ones that we look at with a sense of positivity, because it is an entitled perspective to look at something and say, I'm waiting for it to change, when something has no desire to, right? That is the mode, that is the sound, that is the ringing of the bell of your delusion, right? The ringing of the bell of one's own delusion when you look at something and you say, I'm being patient towards it, and then you say to another person, do they know you are? Because that isn't patience. That's projecting one's own desire upon something instead of embracing another person's reality. It's the sound of our energetic entitlement in association with the ego. And this is why we usually fortify. Like, this is why the message was coming through upon the fact that our patience is a blessing and a gift, but only when it is mutually recognized that it is occurring. Because the way we find ourselves in unhealthy situations, is when we effectively look at something that is embracing their reality or embracing their experience and say, I'm being patient towards that. No, you're not. Like, that's not patient. That's not you being kind. And we talk about the fact that niceness is not courtesy. And so I think that there's something really beautiful about this. And I'm not surprised to see this. I'm not surprised to see that we've got a bunch of separate energy and separation going through moon lessons. And the conversation that's coming up right now is the difference between a healthy manifestation goal and a delusion. Okay. Center card for today's spread as we break down, right? As we break down the energy that we're seeing here, clarification. We've got here our 10 of Cups, right? we've got the 10 of Cups that's coming up right now in its upright. I like to see the 10 of the 10 of Cups, because a healthy, I keep on getting the same message, and this is happening across all of the frequencies. A healthy manifestation goal is a manifestation goal that is mutually shared. It's out in the open. It's just like, it's out in the open. A healthy manifestation goal is something that is mutually shared. It's something that you can spread to those around the self. It's something that feels like it's energetically shared. Now, and it doesn't require us to be perfect. It requires us to be working towards it. This is very important right now for those moon relationships. And for our purposes, the moon partnerships that we're talking about are the energy in separation right now from about the time of Uranus going retrograde, right before that eclipse cycle, up until today. Now, the thing about this, and I keep on getting, there is a lot of emotion coming out right now in some of these relationships. And I feel like the gift that they're giving each other is not projecting expectations upon one another. They're not projecting expectations upon one another. I keep on getting, these are energies. The reason I've been trying to uncover why they've been coming together so slowly, they're healing from pedestalized partnerships. And what happens when we're in a pedestalized partnership? This is why idolatry is considered so negative. Because when we pedestalize, we project what we aspire to see in someone upon someone instead of embracing the beauty of who they truly are, right? And often, one of the things that happens in pedestalized partnerships is they start off on cloud 9, and then everything else feels like we're falling, like that we're moving into the space of disappointment, right? Because it's the sound of someone holding an unrealistic standard that often characterizes the trauma that occurs when we recognize that someone has created an impossibility point. This is why it's continuation of why it's so vital and important when we build into relationship. We don't put potential in relationship on personage. We don't put it in what we aspire the counterpart to be. We aspire on where we go, right? Healthy relationship is a vehicle to have your dreams fulfilled. It's not the space by which you look to another to effectively identify that they go through them, is what we keep on seeing. So for a lot of the energy doing this work, the fact that they're experiencing those modalities where they're getting their confidence back. And how are they getting their confidence back? They're relearning and reaffirming. They're doing something in a way that they haven't done it before. They're being more authentic than they ever have, because they're also taking accountability and responsibility for the relationship that they're healing from in the past. Because I keep on getting the message that when we dilute ourselves entering into relationship, we often enter delusional relationships that don't fully embrace who we are. They don't see us with clarity. So they're coming to each other unfiltered, right? They're coming towards one another unfiltered, but then they're also checking, right? Because they're feeling the anxiety of potentially upsetting one another, and they're reaffirming to each other the confidence by which they can go on. And so I keep on hearing this is the sound of them slowly rebuilding the egoic self in a healthy way from a circumstance or situation by which they feel like another person was constantly, perpetually tearing them down. Now, this brings us to the temperance relationships. And for our purposes, the temperance relationships are the relationships that were coming together between the time of Uranus going retrograde up until the time of the solstice period over the summer. Can I please get 2 cards to clarify? We've already got one out here. Clarification coming through right now with, there's that. This is the moon card in its reversal. Same exact spot we had it yesterday. Go check the tape. You can go back to that. You can go see yesterday's spread over on our stack. Same exact spot. And the 5 of Pentacles in its reversal, which was our ultimate card yesterday. So this is a continuation on yesterday's reading. So for the energy right now, that is the temperance relationships, there's a lot of frustration here. a lot of big feelings. They're opening up to each other about a past that they may have alluded to when they first came into relationship. They're getting the full story of something that happened. And that's why I keep on seeing that for a lot of these relationships. Big feelings, bigger effort, right? Big feelings, bigger effort, which is big feelings, which means they're not marching out the door to go address their feelings into the past by which they would like to do something, but they're putting the effort into building a present that is the antithesis of a past that hurt counterpart. This is the energy that is working on understanding. They're doing, I keep on hearing recentering. And I keep on hearing it's hard because there's a lot of that drag energy with all of this retrograde. It's a lot of that why I oughta kind of energy. The desire to like have to stop oneself from wanting to do something about the past. But instead, I keep on hearing recentering it and saying the way we heal from a past is not by making the past the present, by pulling the past into the present, but by filling one's hands with the present. So they're building into the space by which they're seeing relationship as a gift that they're giving to counterpart to restore any of the damage that may have occurred in past partnership. Now, for a lot of those energies or a lot of those relationships, it's funny because I told you there's a little bit of this bear energy. I want to know where Ursa Minor is right now, because the bear energy that I'm picking up on is the energy that's saying, I keep on hearing Mercury and Mars almost on top of each other. Mercury and Mars almost on top of each other in Sagittarius and retrograding. Don't mistake the kindness for weakness. This is the energy that keeps on saying to counterpart, this is not me doing what I would typically do. This is me honoring the sanctity of your healing journey. We're creating sanctuary in relationship right now. But if that past has the audacity to come here, so I keep on hearing the energy going, if that past has the audacity to show up here, that's no longer a Neptune lesson. That's someone taking care of business, is what I keep on hearing. So there's like a little bit of this, like I keep on getting, there's a little bit of this knuckle crack that's happening right now as it relates to the energy that says, I won't dare, but don't they dare, is what I keep on getting. Continuing to get clarification between our Page of Wands and its upright and the High Priestess. In its reversal, Pluto and Venus, only planets in upright right now. Fool card. Wow, there's that maturation processes are not fun. I keep on seeing they're learning to be the mature one. They're learning to be the mature one, is what I keep on seeing. And the thing about with these magician relationships, man, I can already see they are like the thing about it, and this is what's so I keep on hearing they're having a lot of full circle moments, because it's literally there are some energy right now that feels like they've come out of they've lost contact with energy. And they're trying to surmise why. And the only thing they can put together is the fact that they've entered healthy partnership. Do you know how painful that is? Do you know how painful that is when you look at a situation or circumstance and say, what has changed? Oh, I'm happy. Do you know how upset that, you know how upsetting that is? This is what we experience when we go through maturation processes where they're trying to figure out, the catalyst by which another person is in a space of rumination, and the only amplification that they can articulate upon is the fact that they're in a space of that their vibration has shifted into one of joy. There's a lot of that energy that I keep on seeing. They're working through that emotionality. They're working through the emotions of that. I keep on hearing the bittersweetness of sharing joy, but then experiencing and recognizing others that do not share the similar context of joy. And so that's why I keep on seeing they're working through a Saturn lesson, because I keep on hearing this message. They keep on saying the same thing. Always open. They're holding a situation with an open palm. And why are they saying they're holding a situation with an open palm? They're always open to have a healthy conversation, but they also recognize there is no context by which you can chase after a healthy conversation. Because a healthy conversation you chase after becomes an uncomfortable confrontation. So they're leaving themselves open to it. They realize that they're being this is the sound of being the mature one. They're like, it's boring, but they know that it's boring. I told you they're kind of going into hermit mode. They're like, they're holding patience to they're holding patience for themselves, but they're not holding patience to a situation outside the self, because they're also going through the lesson of understanding that patience is only healthy when another person recognizes that we're giving it to them. Because when we are being patient to situations, but we don't let someone know that we're being patient about them, that is the sound of us projecting. That is the sound of our delusion setting in. Continuing to get clarification between the High Priestess in its reversal in combination. I like this with the 10 of Cups in its upright. Yeah, again, we got double tens out right now. Double tens, we like it. Double tens is good. Double tens, we got both in the upright. We got a 10 of Cups in its upright in combination with a 10 of Pentacles in its upright. Double tens here, both in the upright. And again, it's like the thing we see with double tens, and I want to describe this. Like, this is, and I want to point out, this is the apex of this retrograde season. I know you guys keep on asking me when is this going to end? I'm like, well, there's not going to be a certain day. There is not going to be a certain day where I get to say, guys, I got some great news. Retrograde season's over. It's spooled up. It's going to unspool in the same way by which it came together, which is slowly. And, on the 28th, we have some planets starting to move back out of retrograde. So the next couple weeks, it's like this is going to feel like some of the heaviest energetic pressure that we're experiencing. Also, I got to stress, retrograde periods are beautiful times to heal one's relationship to silence. Because the thing you have to understand is, as natural creatures, we have a bit of an natural trauma trigger that's built into us in relationality to silence. Now, as we move towards the space of becoming energetically aligned, we often heal our relationship to silence. We feel the modality by which it feels energetically peaceful, and it's productive. Silence is nice when you're building towards purpose, because it's the sound you need to get something done, right? But often, when we're not in that experience by which we can navigate it, it can get us into the space by which, it gets us into the space by which we feel that silence and we internalize it, right? I'm going to be here. I'm here right now to tell you, don't be internalizing silence right now in the midst of a retrograde season like this and assume things. Because especially with Chiron and Eris in such close proximity, retrograding out together, it can often feel like something coincidental feels profoundly directed intentionally towards the self. And I'm here to tell you not to believe the hype of this retrograde season. Okay? Don't believe the hype of the retrograde season. Don't be crashing out. Get down to business. Okay? Allow for that space of productivity to guide you. And if you're feeling this right now, right, I want you focusing and meditating on purpose and productivity. Like, let logic rule directionality. And I know that's not easy, because I'm telling you right now, the thing with these retrograde periods is they can be highly productive, but if someone isn't doing their shadow work effectively, like I described, right, feeling the silence, assuming things, and then projecting the energetic anxiety out onto others, it can also feel like you're having to deal with a lot of others' projections. Don't match energy. If you're experiencing that, don't match it. Remember who you are. Remember how you navigate things. Continuing to get clarification between our 10 of Cups in its upright and the Moon card in its, there it is, thank you. Okay, cantilevered, okay. And the Moon card in its reversal. We've got the three, we've got the three of Wands tilted And I know, and I have to put the tilt there because they're saying it's tilted because it's interesting because the tilt, and again, make sure that you head over to the stack if you want to see today's spread because and I need to stress this here. The card that it's tilted towards is almost pointing an arrow towards the Ten of Pentacles. So what we're really seeing, this is literally like letting logic rule because it's the Moon card in its reversal, which is again, and it's the same thing I keep on seeing. Let the healthy conversation guide the self. Right? Something that can be spoken upon openly is something that is energetically healthy. So that's why I keep on seeing. And this is also describing, remember how I said there's a little bit of this curvature to some of these moon relationships that are coming together? There's there's a little bit of this glacier effect. This is what I mean about the glacier. Because I keep on saying they're pushing forward a little bit. They're doing something in a way that they've never done it before. They're being more authentic as they build into a relationship. And then I keep on getting, they're going, and they're pulling back. It's like dipping the toe in the water of authenticity and then going, and then them being like, no, it's okay. And them going, oh, good. Right. So it's a lot of like, it's literally like the way, like I know it's gonna sound, it's gonna be, I know the only way I have to like show, like I have to dance through it to show you guys the way that the relationship is happening. It's the leap forward, the pull back, and then the jump forward twice for like jumping forward twice more. So it's like the pull forward, and then diving. It's like the touch before the dive kind of thing. So there's something about that. But that's what I keep on seeing. They're giving each other permission to try. And that's why I keep on getting there's so much emotion here. Because when we are pedestalized, it doesn't leave us any room to learn something. Because I keep on seeing that if these are the relationships or situations where another person, like I keep on seeing, like these are circumstances or situations where another person was seeing us trying and instead of giving us encouragement, they were energetically mortified. I keep on hearing like, and this is what we talk about when we speak towards humility, right? We always have to have, like you have to stumble before you can walk. Right? If you don't have the ability to feel a little clumsy, if you can't hold your clumsiness with a sense of grace or with a sense of love, then that is the sound of you becoming energetically rigid because it's the fear to allow oneself to learn. And when we learn, there's always going to be that uncomfortability point, right? There's always going to be those moments that we stumble because the stumbling is necessary when we learn. So that's why I keep on seeing that there's relief because what's happening in these relationships is they're giving each other permission to make mistakes. But I keep on hearing, not grievous errors. Is what I keep on hearing. Mistakes, not grievous errors, because they're doing something in a way and then they're talking about it, right? They're assessing it. That is the sound of them learning together. They're acting as healthy mirrors, moon relationships. A mirror is a healthy thing. There's nothing wrong with mirroring so long as we like what we're reflecting, is what I keep on hearing. Now continuing to get clarification between our moon card in its reversal and that five. I love this moon card in its reversal with the Five of Pentacles in its reversal. Those two together are great. I love that for the temperance relationships. Yeah, there it is. I love, it's funny because I was laughing a lot when I was reading for the energy that was that was in separation. And now I'm laughing when I'm reading for the energy in temperance. I keep on getting the energy like, I wouldn't dare, but don't they try? And it's funny because remember I said, like, for the energy and separation, the space by which they're giving each other, the space by which they keep on hearing, trying is the sound of us reaching towards perfection because there is no trying. There's just better ways of learning how to do something effectively. But for the energy that is working through the Neptune lessons of temperance, This is the energy that's saying, I'm doing my best to channel my emotions upon something in the past productively. But if that past has the audacity of showing their face here, is what I keep on hearing. That's not a Neptune lesson, is all I keep on hearing. That's not a Neptune lesson. That no longer becomes a Neptune lesson in the context by which the space of the past tries to resurface. That is something entirely different, is what I keep on seeing. And that's why we keep on seeing that for a lot of these energies. I just keep on hearing the energy that says the same thing, which is I wouldn't dare, but don't they try? Because this is the energy that is sanctifying the partnership by holding the partnership itself in a space of being energetically protective of the healing journey of the counterpart, but not articulating to the counterpart not to mistake the kindness for weakness, not to mistake the kindness for weakness in relationality to the fact that they're almost literally saying to counterpart, you're seeing me healed. Like, this is the energy going, this is me being healed right now. Like, this is me working towards the healing and holding your healing as the priority. Continuing to get clarification between our Fool card in its reversal in combination with our 10 of Pentacles in its upright. Five of Wands in its upright. Now, for the energy of, for these Magician relationships, I feel like the hard part that we're seeing is a lot of volatility in relationality to working. I keep on hearing when we are going through a moment of positivity, like when we're experiencing an amplification of joy, we articulate upon that joy by what is energetically shared. And that's why I keep on seeing that the energy is like consoling each other deep within divine union, because it's a conversation about what you can do about others' hard feelings. Others' hard feelings often become Saturn lessons, because when someone is holding hard feelings towards you and there's literally nothing that you can do, like if another person, the way you can notice the difference between someone holding hard feelings that are a projection of their own feelings versus something that is actually productive is amplified and articulated in the statement, what would you have me do? And this is why it's really important that when we're doing our shadow work effectively, when we have feelings about something, we always look towards the amplification of what we can do that would right the feelings. Because if we experience a modality by which we hold feelings, but there's nothing another person can do to resolve those feelings, that is the sound of us projecting our feelings onto another person. That is the sound of us not doing our shadow work effectively. So that's why I keep on seeing that for a lot of these relationships deep within divine union, going through that maturation process and saying that they're leaving themselves open if they see someone with hard feelings as they're moving deeper into partnership, but they're always willing to sit down and have the conversation with someone upon what would you have me do? But the person can't come towards them because the thing that they would have them do is something that sounds ridiculous, or something that they recognize that they themselves don't have the ability to articulate upon because they haven't figured out what that is. This is why it becomes a Saturn lesson, because this is the energy that effectively gives that to Saturn and says, I hope the day will come that that person understands that that is something that they themselves need to work upon resolving within the self, right? Because, and this is the hard part about this retrograde season, it's the understanding that honoring feelings isn't by giving each other our feelings every minute of the day. Not all feelings are alike, right? Babies, like little children that don't have the ability to navigate through their feelings will often put their feelings onto others to be resolved. But as we move into maturation, we recognize and identify that our ability to filter through our own emotions, to communicate upon what the emotions are asking for. The emotions are a bell that tell us that there's something that needs tending. And it is our job to identify if that bell is an internal bell, something that we need to work upon inside the self, or if there's something that can be addressed externally, something that can be changed and amended. So before we can honor, the way that we honor our emotions is not by giving them to everyone around us and then saying, I'm honoring, you have to honor, you have to accept these emotions. I'm honoring them because I'm feeling them and I'm telling you them. That's not honoring the emotions. that is projecting the emotions onto others around them, making your emotions others' responsibility. We fortify. When we fortify our emotions, we honor them. And so that is the conversation that I see that is happening right now for a lot of those energies that are deep within divine union. Continuing to get clarification between our 10 of Pentacles in combination with our tilted 3 of Wands in its reversal. Can I get one card to clarify? Death card in its reversal. We've got a lot of similar cards. A lot of similar cards to what we saw yesterday. If you want to compare yesterday's spread to today's spread, you can head on over to the stack. You'll find it there as a photo. But I like to point this out, and I need to stress this. I like to see a 10 of Cups above a Death card in its reversal, because it's understanding, and again, the difference. Change is not a manifestation goal. Change for change's sake is not a manifestation goal. But, and this is why I keep on saying, this is coming back to the energy and separation. If these are relationships by which they're trying to heal because they were experienced pedestalized partnerships, what is the song you will hear when you're in a pedestalized partnership? I couldn't do anything right. Anytime I did something, I would be told that it was the wrong thing to do. Again, it's very convenient not to tell someone what to do, but only to tell them when they're doing it wrong, right? Like there's a hot-footedness in some of these relationships that someone's experiencing, by which I keep on seeing, and this is why we do the work to understand and recognize our trauma triggers, is not the space by which we're constantly, not the space by which we're constantly feeling the need or the determination to perpetually adapt to situations. It's the space by which we build into the context of our own clarity. It's the space by which we work to do something so that we give each other, I keep on hearing, so that we give each other the ground to be able to do something most successfully, is what I keep on seeing. And that's why I keep on seeing that this energy in separation is like almost in a space by which they can weep. They feel like they want to weep. Because if these are situations where I almost hear the energy like constantly apologizing, and someone saying, why are you apologizing? Right? Like even in the indicative point by which they're constantly apologizing, they're recognizing experiences by which it felt like they were constantly having to apologize for being who they were. And I keep on hearing, healthy relationship does not keep us in a space by which we're constantly apologizing for who we are, but rather celebrating who we are. It's not where we don't apologize. We're not in a space of constantly apologizing, but in a space by which we're perpetually celebrating. And so that's what I keep on seeing. They're giving each other that joy again. They're reminding each other that that their joy is a birthright, regardless as to whether they're perfect or not. That it's not the space by which another person articulates and says, "Oh, well, I'll be happy when you do something right." It's understanding that we give each other the environment by which we can do something most effectively, right? I keep on seeing they're giving each other room to flourish. Continuing to get clarification between our 3 of Wands in its tilt with the 8 of Cups in its reversal. Right there, Queen of Cups in its reversal. That card should also look familiar because we've had that card coming up a lot too. As I mentioned, there is a bit of a different impact that we're experiencing right now between masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. Now, the reason, and I want to stress this right now, and the reason we're seeing that it's potentially having a different impact on masculine and feminine energy has to do specifically and particularly with, and I feel like it really has to do with the fact that the 2 planets that we see right now that are not in retrograde are Venus and Pluto. And I like to point this out because, and there's a conversation to be had when we see Venus and Pluto both stationed direct. And it has to do it has to do with the nature it has to do with the nature of hatred or the nature of dread. Because, and I keep on seeing this too, and this is why, like, this is what we talk about when we talk about holding on to the past, but not holding on to it too firmly. Because the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is not hate. It's energetic indifference. And often the reason that we work towards articulating upon, and this is why we do the work in terms of, like, if you want to be on a healthy spiritual journey, understand your ire. And if you want to have a healthy relationship, understand your ire, because your ire helps to point the direction of where your fire is located. Okay? And the thing is, not all ire is alike either. When we hate something, but then when we say, why do you hate it? And you can't explain why, that is the sound of you not doing your shadow work effectively. Right? I told you, when we are in a healthy space, we own our weird in the best way possible. Which is, again, if we don't like something, we're able to profoundly articulate. Like, a healthy hate is a hate by which you can profoundly articulate upon it. Okay? You've got the notes. You can go into exquisite detail as to why something energetically bothers you. Because if you want to see somebody that hasn't done their shadow work effectively, being like, I hate that person. Why do you hate them? They just bother me. Oh, why? Oh, that's interesting. They just bother you. Well, what about them? What have they done? Nothing. They just get on my nerve. Okay. So you've got a lot of strong feelings for someone. Can't really pin on what they bothers you. That doesn't sound like hate to me. That sounds like that's confusion, right? And often confusion is usually, and when we have feelings, when we have misplaced hatred and we don't know why, that is exactly where listen, I have located the space by which you need to do shadow work. Right? There it is. There it is. There it is. There's your blind spot. Right? What is that person triggering in you? Because often, I'll tell you, it's 9 times out of 10, that person will be like, I don't like to see how positive they are. Why do they get to be happy when I'm not happy? Right? It's often the space by which another person is working through the space by, like, what are you upset about? Or what are you upset about? Oh, is it their joy? Is their joy bothering you? Are you lacking it and therefore you're upset that another person has some? This is how we heal that. We do the work of working through and understanding that in a deeper way. And it's not easy. And I keep on seeing for masculine and feminine right now, I'm going to tell you, masculine energy, I've got the Fool card in its reversal with the Page of Wands. So I feel like this is a lot of the masculine energy working through the frustration that made masculine energy feel that in order to become masculine, they had to abandon feelings, right? When we abandon feeling, like all we do, when we are told not to address something, we don't become strong in it. Stoicism is not the space by which you ignore having feelings. Stoicism is the ability to feel things, but not let those feelings control the self. To be able to feel the enormity, like this is what we mean by non-attachment. To feel less, but to feel more, and still be sure as it relates to the direction that one must go. While for feminine, this is a lot of the feminine that's working on setting healthy boundaries. And what happens with feminine? What is the sound that feminine often hears as they lay healthy boundaries? How dare you, I want more. How dare you, I want more. How dare you, I want more. So we see that for both of these energies, and I'm experiencing this across all of the frequencies, right? And this is why we see, like, this is what we experience with Venus and Pluto both being in upright, which is the space by which you have to, when you're on a healing journey, the first thing you need to do is get ready to navigate others' disappointment. Others' disappointment. Okay. For masculine, others' disappointment in the modality by which you express the fact that you have feelings, right? Being like, that's not very masculine of you. Being like, then you're not very good. Then you're not very much for me, right? That when someone sees you in the modality by which you're expressing emotions, and they try to articulate the fact that you expressing emotions makes you less, then that is exactly the emotions that protect you, because it doesn't say to you, you have to get stronger. It says you need to get the heck away from that. You need to get that. You need to get away from that. That's weird. You need to get away from the energy that says you shouldn't really have emotions, right? While for feminine, this is the feminine that says that when a feminine articulates upon their limitation and another person says, I respect that, I understand, instead of how dare you, I want more, that is also the sound of protection coming through. Because as the feminine lays down those healthy standards, they're going to experience the full brunt of another person's projections upon them. And the words that, the way that you will often see this is someone saying, I'm very upset at that feminine. Why are you upset of that feminine? Because they're not accessible to me. Because they're not accessible to me, right? Accessibility is not the calibration point by which we honor each other, right? And when we often the way you'll notice someone with a lack of boundaries is the modality by which they feel anger because another person has them. Continuing to get clarification between our Five of Wands in its upright in combination with our Death card in its reversal. We've got here the Hangman in its reversal. So for the Hangman in its reversal, and this is like I keep on getting, like this is becoming kind of an energetic collective message as we're working through the apex of this retrograde cycle. You know, it's okay. It's like, and I need to point this out. Being on a healthy spiritual journey or being in a healthy relationship doesn't mean that you're never upset, but it's being able to articulate or amplify why one is upset, the space by which one is able to identify the reason. I have a reason, and I need to point this out. I have a reason to be upset rather than I have a right to be upset, right? Because the reason calibrates direction. It's reasonable to be upset about that. And even in the space by which the energy is articulating, I keep on seeing this is energy that is being fortified by reason. They're seeing situations and circumstances by which they're articulating upon their frustration. And then they're saying, they're almost apologizing. These are those moon relationships, being like, I'm sorry, I'm coming to you upset. And then being like, it sounds to me like you have a very valid reason to do so. And why do we talk about, and I think it's interesting because I keep on hearing the healthy energy is articulating upon the reason to be upset rather than the right to be upset. Because you'll ever notice that whenever someone says I have a right to be upset, usually the most entitled thing you've ever heard is about to come out of their mouth. Is what I keep on hearing. Rights are shared, right? It's something that we all experience together. It's unified. So, and I keep on hearing there's a little bit... And this is what I mean in relationality to building into a point of catharsis, because I just keep on seeing that, you know, for across all of the frequencies right now, that healthy energy is the space by which they honor each other's yeses and also they honor each other's nos, right? They identify and recognize what is possible. But then I keep on hearing they don't push beyond, right? Like I keep on hearing they don't push upon each other's boundaries. And I keep on seeing like, and like that's the thing about it. Often, like, and I feel like that's when I keep on getting in relationality to a lot of energy right now is working through, and I feel like this is what's happening collectively, working through the misconceptions that often occur when another person is intentionally trying to push into our boundaries is what I keep on seeing. And I'll continuing to get clarification between our Death card in its reversal and the Queen of Cups in its reversal. Yeah, there it is, the Three of Cups in its reversal, right? It's like, I feel like there's the thing that is articulated upon that has to do, and I need to describe this, and this is why I'm going to say this again. During these retrograde periods, don't assume anything. Don't assume anything, because don't assume things. Ask healthy questions. Because, and I'm going to say this again, I feel impelled to kind of reaffirm this. When we go through retrograde periods like this, especially with Chiron and Eris sitting so in such close proximity, there are things that occur that are profoundly coincidental that we read intention into, right? It's too easy in this type of energy to make assumptions upon things that have nothing to do with you but feel very directed towards the self. But that's why when we are able to bring the force of our compassion and patience to things, right? It doesn't require us to be volatile and reactive to everything. Our anger is also a gift, and we give our anger to those that recognize that our anger is a gift, because the anger that we feel upon things is how we work to change something. It's the amplification of our frustration that allows something to be done more effectively. So that's why I keep on seeing that there's something really significant and important, and I keep on seeing the word being respective, right? Because when I keep on hearing, when we're being energetically respective, we respectively articulate upon, I keep on hearing, we articulate not just upon how we're feeling, right? It's not enough. I know it's hard, because I know how hard it is for so many energies to get to the point, like for some energy, I know that having the space by which we can articulate to our feelings in itself is a breakthrough. And I'm not diminishing the fact that that's the first part of the breakthrough. The second part of the breakthrough, once we're able to articulate upon our feelings, is doing the work of filtering upon them to articulate and define what is something that we need to work on within versus something that we need to work on without. And sometimes, I get this, sometimes it requires a little bit of that external processing, right? And the way that we do that, and this is why we don't make assumptions towards things. We articulate and we say to one another, I keep on hearing, we create checkpoints in one another. We say, is this correct? Like, can I show you something I'm feeling to make sure that I'm correct in how I'm feeling it? Right? Is what I keep on getting. This is what we do in healthy relationship. Like, am I missing something? Usually the sound of a healthy conversation is not, and this is what you'll see the difference between a projecting conversation that says, look what you made me do, right? The force of intention that tries to put blame on others for the fact that one feels something in the first place, versus the space by which we're working through something and saying, can you check my work on this? Is there something I'm missing? Have I worked through this effectively? Right? It's the space by which we're coming to each other with a desire to learn more, instead of the space by which we're trying to subject to each other to the breath of how we feel about something. Final card for today's spread, between our Hangman in its reversal and our Three of Cups in its upright. Got two cards coming out to our final card today. King of Pentacles in its reversal with that Six of Wands in its upright. It's interesting too that the King of Pentacles in its reversal arrived here also in relationality to the Six of Wands, because it has a lot to do. And I feel like the message I kind of want to leave this reading with right now is talking about how good it feels to match energy. I know it feels really good. Like when someone's coming towards us in an absolutely ridiculous way, it feels like it all, and I need to point this out, right? When we're about to say, I have a right to, we're about to do something that's very entitled, aren't we? I have a right to. Sometimes someone says, I have a right to, when they're trying to give themselves a reason to match energy. We don't match energy, because all you do, listen to me, especially if someone's doing something ridiculous. When you match ridiculous with ridiculous, you are moving right back into trauma-based mentality. Trauma doesn't make sense. Trauma demands attention without any intention, right? Trauma says, look at me. In regardless of on whether you glare or you look at someone with a sense of passion. It is literally just the energy that says, it is glare energy. It is saying, I will take whatever I can get from you, because that is the force of captivation. But that's why I keep on saying, when we are going through experiences where energy is trying to trigger us, we remember who we are. We stand up straighter, because that modality, that experience by which we see someone that tries to come into the space by which they feel, right? And then, because then there's that aha moment being like, see, like all you teach someone when they come towards you in a ridiculous way and you match them, going, look, I can get them to do anything. I can get them to do anything. Look, that's all I have to do. It's great. All I have to do is be like, look, I just need to, if I just come towards them in a ridiculous way, now they're doing the same thing as we don't match energy. We remember who we are. So I know that some energy right now going through this right now, being like, but I know you have a right to. It's not about, I don't care who started it. I don't care. I care about you deeply. I don't care who started it, because I care about you more than that, right? It's never about how we receive something. It's who we desire to be. And remember, no one can take that desire of who you desire to be away from you unless you allow them to. Bottom of the deck on that reading. Yep, we've got here the 9 of Wands in its reversal. Oh, 9 of Wands in its reversal, and here's, and like I told you, I know, I told you. I know, listen. We got the 9 of Wands in its reversal. And that's the thing about it. 9 of Wands in its reversal like talks towards how indulgent it would be. Right? How it's not, I know. It's not about having a right to. It's about knowing what's energetically right. Right? It's I keep on seeing it's working through the context of being able to energetically arrive to a situation and leave it better than you found it. And I want you to kind of think about that right now if you're going through something difficult, right? Not about working through the space of something being awful, but truly saying the force of love is saying, how can I leave something better than I found it? Even if things aren't working out, even if things aren't energetically perfect, right? It's the ability of being able to look at something and say that the space by which we put our intention in relationality to the direction that we aspire something to go in, it's a further conversation that we have as it relates to the nature. And that's what I keep on seeing. Don't allow this to be the retrograde where you feel like you're waiting on something that feels like it's interminable and it's making you feel like a space cadet. Remember that there's always modalities by which you can move something in the direction of fortuitousness, right? Fortuitousness has the base word fort. And what does that mean? Strength, right? So how can you bring strength to one's own fortuitousness? How can you move things forward in a way that feels like they're energetically productive? So allow that. I keep on hearing being fortuitous doesn't mean that one is sitting around waiting for something to energetically occur. It's allowing the space by which you're building into productivity, even in the space that something else isn't happening. So I want you to kind of embody that right now if you're feeling frustrated in this retrograde cycle. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you'd like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my site. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site. So I would encourage you to do it there. A couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who attended our recent class on the moon card. Our next class will be held on Thursday, November 20th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Sun card. If you would like to become a part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is head on over to my Stack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my Stack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You'll also have access to a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything we've learned and studied thus far. And if you become a founding member, not only will you receive a discount on the entire year's worth of readings, you'll also have full access to the entirety of the Tarot Church Library class program. That's access to over 20 hours worth of material in an ever-expanding library. One of the things I tried to do, you'll also have access to a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me if you choose to have one, where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best impact moving towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly, as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I'm also very happy to now offer dream interpretation readings, which you can purchase per dream or as a series. If you purchase the series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again.